might be some kind of new people coming for this event, so let me kind of explain briefly what this is about. No,
okay, you're gonna take long.
Yeah, done actually. So, just for those who join us just now, just to let you know, this is a seminar on the role of institutions, cultural institutions in the Russian Federation, and also their relation to the question of freedom of expression. And so we have two morning panels at which researchers presented their findings, but also debated various concepts and ideas in relation to those two concerns. And so now we have about an hour, right, to spend on a conversation with editor-in-chief of one of the leading media companies in the Russian Federation, in the Russian language, but also globally. And so it's fantastic to have Ivan Kolpakov here with us. And the way I thought we would actually do this part of our day is that Ivan and I would start by exchanging some kind of question, answers, ideas, and then we'll open up for questions from the audience. The idea is that it's always a bit daunting just to talk about, a particular subject for an hour or so. So hopefully that will kind of help us do it in a more exciting way. Yes, deep breath there. So here we go. So I thought we would start in a way that would speak to people who are familiar with this media outlet, and we put up the website of the media outlet online. And so I would like Ivan to comment on the history of Medusa as such. So some of you know that this project has been in the making for the past 3 years approximately. And so the question that I wanted to ask Ivan, whether you can identify 2 or 3 pivotal moments in the history of Medusa that helped it develop in the way it is now, whether they were personal, social, technological, institutional, you name it, changes that kind of really suggested the path for Medusa to develop.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for having me. And Helsinki is definitely my favorite city in Finland. The question is really difficult. It's hard to say what it's hard to get the 3 or 2 most important issues, but I'll try. I think the first one is about content. We're trying to combine traditional journalism, investigative journalism, reporting with new formats, and we are developing new formats all the time since we've launched the project in 2014. It was hard. It was tough year for Russian history and European history as well. But I think it was a good time for starting new Russian-speaking media project. We are combining different formats and we are developing it. For example, 6 months ago we started making videos, and we're not trying to make these social viral videos like everyone does about food, cats, dogs and stuff like that. We're trying to make sophisticated journalism videos. A couple months ago we started making podcasts, which is a huge thing for American market and for European market. But it is the market of podcasts in Russia is absolutely empty. So we're trying to become the pioneers in this sphere and become leaders of podcasts in Russian. The second important issue is the way we think about us as a media, as a brand. When we started in 2014, we decided that it's not going to be, the website media. For example, we started creating Medusa from creating an application for iOS. So it was, I think, the first time in Russian history, in history of Russian media, when somebody created an application first and then the website. Well, eventually we realized that the website is also, I think, right now it is the most important channel of distribution of content. And so the first version of website wasn't made really well, and we had to reconstruct it some months later. But we thinking about Medusa as a multi-platform. We considering Medusa as a multi-platform media, which means that we're not thinking about channels of distribution as a button for making traffic for the website. It's just last century. So we're thinking about creating brand at the same time everywhere, on applications, on the web, on Facebook, on Vkontakte, well, almost everywhere, even in messengers. And third key point is that there is a huge problem with, I think one of the biggest problems with Russian journalism is that we have that huge lack of journalism which is focused on general interest. So how does post-Soviet journalism look like? There are two mainstreams. The first mainstream is business journalism, which is it is top Russian journalism. In 1990s, the major media was Kommersant, which is a daily business newspaper. 10 years later, it was Vedomosti, then it was RBK, and all of these media are business media. And it means that they're talking to the audience which actually consumes business news, and it means special language, more or less. The other important mainstream for media are tabloids. So, is there any, New York Times look like media in Russia? No. There is Komsomolskaya Pravda, which is tabloid. There is Argumenты и Fakты, which is tabloid. There is Live News /Live News, previously known as Live News, which is tabloid. And even television, even national television, speaks to you using tabloid language. So there are 2 points, and there is empty space in the middle. And what we're trying to do right now in Medusa, we're trying to build these media in the middle. And we're trying to, reconsider the language of media. We're trying to speak to our readers using all these new practices that appeared in internet in recent years. That's why I think we are successful, especially among young audience.
Cool. Well, can I just follow up on what you said with a couple of very brief questions, which is, I wonder if you could confirm, you described Medusa as a media outlet that exists on the Russian media market.
Right.
And I wonder if you can confirm if the market actually exists in Russia, and if you can describe that market, what drives it, who regulates it, what does it consist of?
It is not market. It is not market. The media market it was destroyed during last 10, 15 years. It's better than me. And the monopoly on this market is taken by the state. So if we're talking about the television, we have 2 independent TV channels. 2.5, I would say. TV Rain, RBK, and RTVI. So there are rumors that RTVI is supported and financed by, close to the state businessmen, a group of businessmen. And there is this small list of independent media. It is really small. Even if we including into this list some important regional media. So this is market. And there is a competition between these players. There is a real competition. However, we feel ourselves, in a position of competition with the state media as well, with the state media as is, or with close to Kremlin media. So it's tricky. Russia is always tricky in country, and so it is. It's not like it looks familiar to what we see in Turkey, probably, because it's before these events of last summer. Because you could observe the list of independent media in Turkey. However, at the same time, a lot of these media are collaborating with the authorities and stuff like that.
Can I just confirm one more thing from what you said before, and that is you described Meduza as a company that wants to provide sophisticated journalism. And I understand that sophistication here, of course, means technological sophistication, that you work across all kinds of platforms.
Yeah.
But what else kind of defines this sophistication?
I mean both technological and journalism sophistication. Mm-hmm. I mean that I use this word to describe videos, because you need to bring. But we think that we have to bring some journalism into these videos, because Facebook is full of stupid, pointless, not journalism videos, and which are made by media companies,
right?
Just to to get more viewers on Facebook, because Facebook wants to become YouTube, and if you're producing and putting videos on Facebook, you're getting more. Your reach becomes wider.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Kind of the clickbait of it. All right, cool. Well, now that you're so kind of technically infused media, I wonder how you would describe people that work with you in Meduza. Would you describe them, and what kind of categories would you use? Are they IT personnel? Are they journalists? Are they lifestyle specialists? How would you label them?
Well,
I mean, not in terms of the kind of their contractual agreement.
Sure. When we understand that, if you're making media today, if you're trying to make contemporary media, you're gonna make technological company. It's just, it is impossible not to make technological company. For example, we have 10 people who are making technological stuff. 10 people. Among in the company which has 50 people in total, it means a lot. It means that we are, but it also takes a lot of resources to make these applications and to support these applications all the time, to develop all your channels of distribution all the time. So it is developing every day. Like 15 years ago, you could make a website. How did it work 15 years ago? There are journalists, and they come into some tech company and they say, we want to make a website. And company makes a website, and journalists take this website, and using this website, the same website, without any development, for years. How does it work right now? You need to develop it every day. And we're talking only about the website. So Meduza is also a technological company. I think so. But we call ourselves journalists. Everyone in Meduza who are not making advertising are journalists.
Right. I mean,
it is really important thing. We started from it was absolutely clear that you need to create this special space where program people and design people can meet with journalists and discuss together new projects. So usually our coders and our design people are involved into the editorial process. They taking part, for example, in everyday editorials. Every morning we have this, conversation between journalists, and tech people are taking part in this conversation. Sometimes they bringing some topics. So they always have what to put on the table. Sometimes they suggest to make some project, some game or something like this. So they are. I think about them. I consider them as journalists.
But in the morning panel, we kind of mentioned a couple of names on Meduza, and I wonder if I can kind of do a fact check on them. So the names we mentioned were Ilya Krasilchik and Anton Dolin, right?
Yeah.
So how would you describe their job profile? Who are they?
Well,
are they developers? Are they designers? What do those two guys that we know do?
Well, it's easy. Krasilchik is a publisher. He's not a journalist. he is one of these few people who are not journalists in Medusa. He is definitely not journalist. His responsibility, there are two main responsibilities of publisher in Medusa. First responsibility is revenue, because Medusa is a commercial company. Second responsibility is the product. So he has to, he has to put different parts of these very complicated organization structure and to make the structure, to make things work. He is the key person who connects all departments. I mean, editorial, design, programming department, some new departments which appear all the time. Video department. He takes part in producing, in creating technology which helps you to produce videos. So he's really involved. He's also involved into the editorial process, but from the management manager's side. Anton Dolin is our journalist, and he's covering movies and sometimes some cultural issues, some cultural topics.
And he's not involved in the editorial decisions.
He's not.
Technological development.
Well, he's not our staff journalist. He's an independent journalist, but he has a contract with kind of exclusive contract with us. So he's writing, exclusively for us every day, and so that's why he's not involved. He's based in Moscow.
I'm interested in your kind of concept of personal brands, right? Not just Medusa brand, but personal brands. I'll try to explain what I mean again by using Anton Dolin as an example.
Yeah.
Just last week, Medusa premiered the clip of Zvyagin's of not Leviathan, but Not Love, the most recent feature, which from I recall is actually an exclusive material that only Medusa had the rights to show that, which is perhaps the most popular film director outside of the Russian Federation. The film is being premiered at the Cannes Festival, and I wonder how much of that has to do with the figure of Dolin and his personal brand.
I would say that Medusa's brand is bigger than any personal brand within Medusa. The secret, well, frankly saying, I hate stars. I hate to work with journalists who became stars. I really hate them. It is always a mess if you're working with them. They were always overestimated, always 100% overestimated. Dolin is a perfect exception. It happens so rarely that we take in some big author and invite him to make something specific. But he is one of few movie journalists in the country, and he's one of the best, and he's definitely the most popular because he's taking part in the main late night show in Russia in Вечерний Ургант, and he appears there every week. So he's people. So
it's alright for Medusa to bring someone who basically worked with a state-sponsored channel.
It's different. It's different. It's different situation because because Первый канал is a beautiful channel. We're not talking about producing of news. Вечерний Ургант is a beautiful program because it doesn't touch the agenda, or if they do, they are really brave. They are working. I think they working really brave. If you're working on Первый канал, first channel, sometimes it's hard to believe that they are really joking, and they are really inviting these people, that kind of people, or something like this. It wasn't. I didn't even think of. I understand your question, and it was a question from some part of our readers, but it's not a problem for me. It is Anton Dolin's decision to collaborate with Первый канал, with the first channel. If he would be staff writer, that would become a problem.
Right. Okay.
But he is an independent journalist. He can do what he wants.
Right. Well, probably my last block of questions before we open to questions from the audience would be about how you work with your, I don't know what to call them, viewers, readers, users, fans, audiences. About 10 years ago, there was this hype about using user-generated content.
Yeah.
Right? So even the BBC, for example, invested billions of pounds into
Sure.
kind of working with users. Is this something that Medusa is developing? I mean, can you tell us about any cases when you found a fantastic guy somewhere and you brought her into Medusa as a freelancer or something like that?
This is really this question is really good and really important. When we started Medusa, we started in 2014 in really difficult circumstances. And what are the circumstances of 2014? It is the information war, right? And what does it mean from reader's perspective? It means that the agenda is depressive and negative all the time. So if you're an average consumer of liberal, so-called liberal Russian-speaking media, you're getting this news about new prosecutions, new stupid laws that were made by this crazy printer, as we called Russian Parliament, our previous Russian Parliament. So you are depressed if you're a liberal person or if you're following so-called liberal media in Russia. But if you're switching to the television, it's the same, or it's even more scary. Because look, what kind of news you can see on television? It is 90% is about what's happening in the world, and the world is fucked up. I'm sorry. This is what you see on Russian television. The world is a disaster. Migration crisis happening here, and Muslims conquering Europe. And the Institute of Family is completely destroyed by LGBT people, and so on and so on and so on. And we are surrounded by enemies, and the world is not really good place because there are no truth and everybody bad. This is the ideology of regime. Everybody bad, but this guy is our son of a bitch. And he's strong, and he's stronger. And so, it's hard to consume that kind of news. And your mood depends on news you are consuming. And when I'm talking about this topic, I like to remember, this Oxford Dictionary of New Expressions. And there is a word Russian, and a new definition for this word appeared some years ago. Russian is a person who is depressed for a long time. And it's true, basically, because the society is depressed. And what are the consequences of this depressed environment, of this negative environment? Apathy. People don't want to consume news. People don't want to follow media. Trump boosted media in the USA. Putin doesn't boost media in Russia because he exists since 1999. I was in school when he became the president. And so people just prefer not to read, not to watch, not to listen. And I totally understand that. I wouldn't consume Russian news if I wouldn't be a journalist. So the first and the hardest goal was to bring back interest to the news, especially among young people. Young people are not interested in news at all. So our response, our answer, our idea. How can we, one of our ideas about how can we, return readers to news is, it's a very popular word in discourse of media people. It is engagement. So we started creating community around Medusa. So we started from reconsidering of, the relations between the media and your readership. Because what is the problem with American media, and why did they why didn't they win? Why are they talking all the time? They saying, you know, we didn't expect that Trump will happen. You know, we've been working so hard, like Russian media in 1996 to elect Boris Yeltsin. American media worked really hard to elect Hillary Clinton, but they failed. Why did it happen? Because there is huge country and there is this left liberal biased media, and huge part of this media are in the same relations with their readers as newspapers in the middle of 20th century or in the beginning of 20th century. This is something on the top. You know, the media is on the top, and there are masses who are consuming media, and eventually, so and there are consequences of that huge distance between media and readers. The first is that you're thinking about majority as a stupid. You're thinking about them as you think that they are stupid people, and you're mentoring them all the time. You're teaching them all the time, and they feel it, and they can answer and they can respond in new media world, right? And from the other side, if you're talking to somebody, you're talking only with elites, only with establishment, only with people who really support you or share your ideas about how the world works. So we started from, you know, the idea that we will try to make this distance smaller. We'll try to make it shorter. We'll try to become an older friend for our readers. So we started, you know, creating this infrastructure of actually, you know, to have an opportunity to communicate to these people. We started from newsletters. We have this extremely popular everyday newsletter, which is called Вечерняя Medusa, Evening Medusa, and we call it the shortest newspaper in history. And it is written with, Medusa itself is fact-based media. We're not publishing opinions, for example, because opinion journalism is, you know, that kind of journalism that is used, you know, propaganda always uses opinion journalism to explain why are they doing this. You know, the journalist has to have has to be a citizen. He has to have his own position about everything, his own ideas about everything. So, but Evening Medusa is exactly that space where we're talking to our readers directly, and we can say something what we really think, what editors of Medusa think about this story or that story. We have this platform project. So you can push the button and send the topic or idea to the editorial, or we have this chat under every article. We have this chat, which is actually made. We've been thinking about comments for months, but we hate comments because when you're making this sophisticated journalism, and then shitstorm starts right under your good journalism. So we hate comments and we hate commenters. So that's why we decided to create chats, and it is literally chat. So you can this is the place where you talking to another readers, or even with some people who wrote with the author of the article, or with the editor, or even with me, and it disappears within 12 hours. And it is so important that we are not saving these conversations, because everything is saved in internet, and Big Brother is watching you, and so on and so on and so on. And it is kind of a Snapchat idea that it's just happening. It just happened. It just you just get a real chat. We're not talking to each other to make it written, to put it into archive. It remains only here. It's the same idea with chat. So and at some level, you're realizing that the idea is really good. If you're not thinking about people, about readers, if you're not thinking that they are idiots, they are not acting like idiots. For example, many of our readers like to write a letter to the editors. They like to answer to the letter we are sending to them. And I know I'm working as a journalist 15 years, and I know that there is special genre, a letter to the editorial staff. 90% of these letters are written by mad people, really crazy people. Because it's crazy intention to write a letter into the newspaper. It is not normal. I wouldn't do that, though I'm crazy. But you have to be absolutely crazy to write a letter to the newspaper. But we are getting a lot of relevant, smart letters with ideas, with critics, with topics, and they are really helpful. We really know our readers. One day, some guy wrote us. It was 1.5 years ago. Some schoolboy from some Russian city, not from Moscow, and he said, "Well, I'm coding. And and it would be a pleasure for me to help you somehow. I can code something for you." And you understand that we have small resources, and we said, "Okay, we have something to code because we always have something to code." And so he made a couple of projects for us, and it was so cute. He wrote so we put him into Slack, into our editorial messenger, and he wrote, "Guys, I know that you're going to launch that project I made tomorrow. Can you launch it between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. because I have a big break between lessons?" And if something will crash, I will help you, because everything crashes all the time when you're launching something on the internet. This is just one example. Another example we started this school of journalism for journalists from post-Soviet countries last year. It's called Farm. So we invited 54 people from, I think, from Baltic states, Ukraine, Belarus, from everywhere. And eventually one girl is now a journalist in Meduza. She's from Belarus, but she's been working on the state television, by the way. So it is possible. It happens, right? Yeah, it happens.
Well, it kind of takes me to naturally to my last quick question about the Storm, the school that you're doing this summer. Firma, right? So
Storm is a professional conference for journalists. And
that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So you're clearly working with sort of grassroots level, but you're also working with professionals. Yep. You are bringing them together. What is the point of that sort of activity for Meduza?
We also wanted to make something offline. First, second, we have these ambitions to be the leader of the market in many ways. Mm-hmm. And though we are not the biggest media in definitely not the biggest media in internet in Russia, though we are not far from leaders. We are acting sometimes we are acting like mainstream media. So, for example, last professional conference was dedicated to native advertising. We started make native advertising, and it's really controversial thing for media market everywhere. The same discussions in the States where native advertising was invented. And so we brought some professionals from the USA, from somewhere else, just to discuss to talk about the native advertising. And it is well, first of all, it's interesting for us to talk to these people who are making native advertising for years, and we just started, and we are inviting experienced people. This year, the conference is dedicated to what's new actually happening in media, podcasts, videos, virtual reality, and so on. It is also interesting. I understand that no one, creates VR projects in Russia. Even we are not producing these projects. But this is the topic that is interesting to talk. Let's pretend that we have real media market and we're trying to make world level journalism, because we're trying.
Right, cool. Well, thank you very much. And